Hello Winnie fans, I have covered 50 upcoming Metroidvanias for 2024 previously, but here are more titles that have come out of the woodwork, beginning with Stardust Demon, a throwback title that is a self-described retro adventure in which something catastrophic has occurred which throws the galaxy into chaos, in which our demon protagonist now has to explore alien biomes and to uncover dark secrets. I think that this game looks neat, although the lack of outlines for the sprites and environmental objects isn't my favourite look. From the description on the Steam store page, this has fun abilities like a teleport to box mechanic for puzzle solving and traversal, as well as a reflecting beam, but also has the classics like a forward dash and the pogo stick jump, so it looks to be a neat little entry. Surprise! I bring you Signs of Life from Clockwork Ambrosia, which was previously known as Ambrosia with the A and E sticking together, in which this game has been long in development and I could have sworn was vaporware at this point, but lo and behold, here's the updated trailer along with a new name. It's a pixel art title that looks sharp, in which the gimmick is that you're able to customize and craft your own guns, allowing you to experiment with builds and possibly come up with something overpowered. Some of the environments do look a little bit placeholdery without that many distinguishing features, but I'm just glad to see that it's still being worked on. This next title comes to us from a Korean developer, in which I believe you can also see the Hollow Knight influence on FatalClaw, which is not necessarily a bad thing, since this game isn't as shameless of a clone as some other games that we have seen. You play as a cat who has died, reawakening in the underworld and is now exploring it, with infected enemies to battle and their powers which you can absorb. Apparently, you will end up creating the strongest weapon known as the FatalClaw along the way, but it doesn't otherwise talk about crafting elements, so I wonder how that works, but it looks impressive, so keep an eye on this. The developer of Venture to the Vow did reach out to me, in which this has a little bit of a spooky vibe, in which you are searching for your missing friend, defeating bosses to absorb their powers, but does hint at something darker in reference to the monster that you will become. The human character wearing a deer mask does kind of creep me out, which is the point, where it appears that the boss powers that you absorb does actually physically change the character. But I don't believe you have a choice in this and is part of the story. The game is penciled in for 2024 and looks promising, so stay tuned to the channel and I'll let you know when it releases. A game that just missed out on the previous list is CRAVE, an impressive looking hand-drawn Metroidvania that seems to have a little bit of Hollow Knight inspiration, in which you play as a wolf that craves flesh, with the ceaseless hunger bringing you to this location. You can consume both men and beasts alike to gain their abilities, where it is not clear if you are the good guy in this game or are simply a monster and should be another good entry. I have most recently talked about Pampas and Selene, the Maze of Demons, in the video on the most recent Steam Nix Festival, but in case you missed it, this is a throwback 8-bit Metroidvania with two main characters. You can swap between the knight and the mage in single player, or play in co-op with a friend, with the delightful throwback visuals and game design being the draw. This comes to us from developer Unepic Friend, who made Unepic and Unmetal, which are excellent, so if you love their other games, give this one a go. Now this next title I'm very excited about, since Primal Planet is a Metroidvania with dinosaurs, so of course I'm in. set in the primeval time with savage tribes and scaly reptiles, the gimmick in this game appears to be the arrival of UFOs and aliens, so there's definitely intrigue there. The more primitive weapons, like what appears to be stone or bone weapons, is a nice change, and also has crude bow and arrows, torches which emit light, swimming and traversal abilities, as well as XP, leveling and co-op, so definitely colour me intrigued, although we do have to wait a little bit for this one. Now this next title is pretty much 1:1 Hollow Knight in terms of visuals, in which games that look like this have gotten a lot of flack in the past, but then again, I suppose it will come down to the quality of the game itself, since it is not just visuals but the gameplay mechanics as well, and it seems like Deviator has gotten that down pat. In case you couldn't tell, this game is about deflection, of countering enemies and throwing their projectiles and attacks back in their face, so perhaps this has more in common with Sekiro. During the most recent Steam Mix Festival, this game was tremendously successful, so I'm guessing there must be something special to this game, so I'm keeping an eye on this since it has a 2024 release window. Here's a sick looking Metroidvania which was recently announced, titled Somber Echoes, a title which is inspired by the Greek tragedies and is set in a cosmic universe. You play as a warrior who is battling through enemies to prevent her twin sister from unraveling the universe, with the acrobatic combat here being one of the highlights, which is different from other games. Our heroine wields a spear as a primary weapon, which gives her the advantage of range, and you can also throw it to skewer enemies, with there also being a parry system in this game and has vibes similar to Grime. However, the cosmic, almost sci-fi setting is unique and has easily climbed the list of Metroidvanias that I'm looking forward to. This next title was announced during a Nintendo Direct, and while there were concerns about it being a Switch exclusive, there's no need to fear since Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist is actually releasing in early access on Steam in March 2024. Early access releases for Metroidvanias always feel weird to me, since the whole point is the interconnected world and the abilities that you get to explore a previously inaccessible area, but its predecessor, Ender Lily's Quietus of the Night, did the exact same thing and turned out fantastic. The indirect combat returns, where our protagonist relies on homunculi to attack for her, and is set many years after the original, and given the pedigree, will be one to get. In case you missed it, here's the video on 50 upcoming Metroidvanias.